Morning, everybody. It is time for Tao of the Day again. I like doing these at 8 a.m. I don't know how many people are on and willing to come out and pick a number, but if you are out there and up for picking a number between 1 and 81, come join me and we will read a little bit of the Tao today. Yesterday, we went through 40. Not 40 chapters, just number 40, and then Inma came on and asked for a number, and I forget. I think it was 17. But yeah, we always are open to choosing a number between 1 and 81, any number that you'd like, and then we'll read that chapter of the Tao together, and we'll go through it line by line and see what insights it has for you and the rest of our listeners. So if you are listening and you have a number that is coming up in your mind, come on and join me, and we'll have a nice time just chatting about the Tao. So for those of you unfamiliar with the Tao Te Ching translates to the canon of reason or the way of reason. And it is all about living a reasonable life. It is not really a spiritual text, but Taoism does definitely stem from some of this. And so much of what we are talking about and what we work with when we look at the Tao is is this space of living life from a space of reason. And so, yeah, if you have a number that you'd like to pick, let me know, and yeah, we'll see what it has to say. Actually, I just had someone join me downstairs. This is Natasha. Natasha, give me a number between 1 and 81. 67. So every day, I'm going to explain to Natasha what I do. Every day, I get on and I read a chapter of the Tao. Do you know the Tao Te Ching? No. So the Tao Te Ching translates to the canon of reason. It's an ancient text. It's an ancient Chinese text written by Lao Tzu. And 67 says, "Some say that my teaching is nonsense. Others call it lofty but impractical. But those who have looked inside themselves, this nonsense makes perfect sense. And those who put it into practice, this loftiness has roots that go deep. I have just 3 things to teach: simplicity, patience, and compassion. These 3 are your greatest treasures. Simple in action and thought, you return to the source of being. Patient with both friends and enemies, you accord with the way things are. Compassionate towards yourself, you reconcile all beings into the world." Nice. So this is your meditation for the day. Yeah. And I'm going to go ahead and go through this line by line as I understand it while I let Natasha make her breakfast. Some say that my teaching is nonsense. I love when the Tao kind of comes out and says this sort of thing because it is a strange thing, because the Tao reaches beyond the manifestation. The manifestation being what we experience. You're fine. Yeah. The manifestation being how we experience the world, and the Tao looks beyond the world, looks to a space that is greater than just the manifestation, the things around us, the stuff in the world. And so it's really easy to try and approach people with what the Tao is teaching. And so many people can approach it with the space of, oh, it is nonsense. It doesn't make any sense to me to do something that the Tao is talking about, right? Like simplicity, patience, and compassion is something that we'll come across later on in this chapter. And so when we run across these things, like we like in our lives to do things now and to be strong in our life. You're fine. You're fine. You don't have to be too quiet. Yeah. So you're going to hear things in the background, and that's just going to have to be what it is. And this is exactly what the Tao is teaching, right? Like compassion, patience, like it's perfect. So and so it is very often that when you talk about these kind of big ideas that the Tao embraces, right? Simplicity, patience, and compassion for this chapter, you'll find people very often think, oh, that's not, like, things are complicated, or you can't have patience because if you have patience, you'll get walked over, or you can't have compassion because people take advantage of you, and things like that. So it's very easy for people to run into this space of like, oh, this is nonsense. Others call it lofty but impractical. And that I can see even, right? Like it's lofty, but like the ideas that are herein don't always come off as practical, because once again, if we look at the three things that we're looking at in this chapter, simplicity, patience, and compassion, it's not always so easy to practice these things with trust. And when we don't have trust and when we don't have a love for ourselves or love for others, we can often call those sorts of ideas impractical. But those who have looked inside themselves, this nonsense makes perfect sense. And that's and this is the core of the thing that is the Tao. It's this idea that like within us it exists. And so externally it exists too. But when we override those internal feelings, or when we crush our own spirit through doing things that are not in line with who we are, we could very easily believe that the teachings of the Tao, or the teachings of, or the purpose of living a life that is of reason, and living a life that is, I mean, I hesitate to say spiritually guided, but one that is guided by more than just the manifestation, or more than just like the goods of the world that we exist in. And to those who put it into practice, the loftiness goes deep. The loftiness has roots that go deep. So once we start putting into practice this space of loving ourselves, and when we start putting into practice this nonsense of simplicity, patience, and compassion, we can see that it actually gets us deeper into our body, and it gets us deeper into a sense of who we are, so that we can be further guided by the Tao, and further guided by that which is our path, our unique path. It should be said, because it isn't just that the Tao is a path. It is your unique path. And that is why it could be seen as nonsense, because it doesn't speak to the particular. It speaks to the general. And when we speak to the general sense of things, we as individuals have to come up and find that the connection between what it's saying, what is simplicity to us as unique individuals at this moment. What is the simple aspect of living our life at this moment? What is the patient way to go about things? And when is patience not going to be the way forward, but we turn to compassion instead of patience? And so those are the things that we want to look to. And that's why we talk about this loftiness having roots that go deep, because it is not about the general, right? It's not about the surface. It's not about the one thing that we can imagine it is. It is the singular that we are, right? Ourselves in this moment is a unique experience that then has to embody that which is spoken of in the Tao, which I speak about every day. I have just three things to teach, says the Tao: simplicity, patience, and compassion. And that is at its core everything that like he's stating here. I have three things to teach in total, and it is simplicity, patience, and compassion. So that is those are themes that are going to run through every and have run through every aspect of the verses of the Tao that we have engaged in. And I also want to thank Natasha, because we haven't read 67 yet. Like, I've been doing this for a while, and 67, I mean, I know I have read certain numbers a couple of times, but 67 is one that we haven't gone over. And so this is a very nice, it's a very good chapter, because it is doing an overview of what is the Tao, right? It is full of these three things: simplicity, patience, and compassion. These three are your greatest treasures. Now, if you can, it's one of the great things about living a life is that we can be aggrieved by anything. right? I mean, I was telling someone the other day, you can be aggrieved by a plant growing in the middle of a sidewalk, right? So that could upset you. And you could go out there with your weed killer and kill the weed. But, like, herein lies the thing. Like, if you can approach life from a place where you don't want to be aggrieved by things, these are ways that you can really express a life like that, right? Simplicity, patience, and compassion. You can be patient, right? Like, if you're planting a garden and you're not patient, you're not going to pull up the seed every time, the day after you plant it and ask it if it's like rooting. You're going to want patience, and you're going to want patience with yourself and the people around you, because that is going to allow you to have more compassion. And simplicity is great, and that's the first thing that we cover of the three greatest treasures: simple in action and thought. You return to the source of being. The more you overthink, the more you do, the more you try and complicate that which you do, the more overwhelming it can become. And I know when I worked in tech, one of the first things we learn is, like, what is the MVP, which is minimum viable product? We need to create a product that is simple, and it is the minimum viable product, meaning what is the viability of this product? What does this product have to do? And then we create the minimum, we create the smallest thing, the simplest thing to make that happen. And then from there, we can get a little more complicated. But in order to do that, we have to be patient, right? And we're going to have to be compassionate both with ourselves and others as we continue to complicate things. Because the world is a complex place, but it started very simply and is becoming increasingly complex as we try and continue to get crafty in our lives and in our inventions and the way that we engage with the world. So simple in actions and thoughts, you return to the source of being. So as long as you can keep simple, you return to the source. It's not like, and what that means is the Tao, right? You return to the source of, what is it to be me in this moment? What does it mean to be who I am? And how can I do that in the simplest way possible? For me, when I don't know what to do, when I get like nervous or I get starting to feel like uncomfortable, one of the first things I do is remind myself to just sit and do nothing. If I don't know what to do, how is doing something going to help that situation? What's best for me at that point is to just simply sit and wait. The Tao talks a lot about, are you patient enough to wait until your dust settles? And that's something that I try and partake in regularly, is like, how can I just stop and pay attention to what's going on right now? So be simple in actions and thoughts. You return to the source of being. Patient with both friends and enemies. You accord with the way things are. So I've had a friend visit, and it's not always easy to be patient, because like, you have a series of things that you do in your life, and you have this certain pattern or what is it, like, routine that you engage in every day. And if that routine is broken, maybe it's okay for a day or two, but like over a week, maybe it gets really difficult to not have that routine, because that routine maybe helps keep you simple, maybe helps keep you patient, maybe helps keep you compassionate. But once that starts to break, can you, like, understand that you want to be here? I was reminded of that yesterday by a friend who was like, no, you want to be here. You don't know when this time will come again. So you want to be present in the moment with your friend, even though it is hard to be patient at this moment. And being the Tao also states about enemies. To have an enemy is to be an enemy. And so that's something that I held with me for a long time, and I try not to have enemies, but being patient with enemies, being patient with people that maybe you're at odds with, will accord you the way things are. You will be able to sit firm with the way things are and the way you are at this moment. Compassionate towards yourself. You reconcile all beings in the world. So, to reconcile, I want to look that word up really quick. Natasha, thoughts? What's the definition of reconcile?
Think over maybe and do again. I don't know.
To restore. Yeah. To restore. To restore to harmony, to settle or resolve. So that's beautiful. Okay, so what we're saying here is be compassionate towards yourself, and you will reconcile all beings in the world. You see all things as yourself because you process you process what you see, not with your eyes, but with your brain. And your brain is connected to all the things that you perceive. And so all things in the world will return to you when you are compassionate with yourself. And it is through that compassion, it's through that space of being compassionate that you can reconcile and you can bring back into harmony everything in the world. You want to heal the world around you, you're going to have to start with yourself. You're going to have to start with this space of being compassionate towards yourself. I know most of us probably live our lives judging ourselves probably every handful of minutes. Little judgments that happen deep in our subconscious or deep even in our or on the surface in our conscious minds. We did something wrong, we said something wrong, we made a wrong look, or we did something that made us feel a little less than. But when we can be compassionate with ourselves, we're able to bring back into harmony all beings in the world. Like they can be who they are because we don't want them to be who we are. We don't want them to change for us so that we can allow them to be as they are. This is bringing them back into harmony because our perception of them not being in harmony or our perception of having been aggrieved is the thing that actually creates that grievance. It isn't them doing something to us, right? We are not victims of that. We are we are co-conspirators to that. And so it's really important for us to take this step of being compassionate towards ourselves so that we can reconcile the world. So many people today think that the world is a bad place and it's a mean place and it's a place that is full of danger. And yes, I mean, those things do exist, but it also exists within our perception that is the case. And so when we can find compassion for ourselves and the pain that we experience every day, then we can reconcile or bring back into harmony all things. We do have a guest coming on. Oh, Bella. Yes. Bella doesn't like picking numbers, I don't think, but I'm glad that she's coming on. We'll see what Bella has to offer. Bella, how are you?
I'm fine. And how are you, Martin
I'm
John?
doing very well. I'm doing very well. Thank you for joining me.
And thank you for your words of wisdom. It always causes me to reflect. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
I was just thinking about what you were saying, about your flatmate and, and how we interact with each other, which are extremely wise words. And it got me thinking again that, the divine love is in all of us. The Tao is in all of us. And we're connected to each other. What separates us is our experiences. So if another person's experiences are different to ours, it's not that it's better or it's worse. And if we're curious, we may actually learn something. It's that division that, oh, my experiences are better than yours. And I was thinking about that while you were talking. I think that's what creates the differences. You're not having my experience, so there's something wrong. But the higher self is the same. And today I posted on my Instagram. It's interesting because I was thinking about that topic this morning in my meditation. And it's a beautiful quote. It says, "It's not your job to detox toxic people. It
Right.
is your job to detox the part of you that resonates with that toxicity.
Oh, girl, go on. That's it.
And
Yeah.
and it's not them. It's what is it me that is resonating with that, and perhaps, and I underline perhaps, it's because I'm thinking, my experiences are much better than yours. How dare you come up with a new experience? It's destabilizing me. Of course, I'm saying that in tongue in cheek, but I
Yeah.
think you get the essence of what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. And that's a beautiful. I was actually talking to a friend of mine who's also on the Wisdom app, Andy Scarantino, yesterday, and she was expressing to me this idea that like your stuff is your stuff, my stuff is my stuff. So if I'm mad at you for doing something, that's my thing. You
Yes.
can go ahead and do that, but if you're complaining about doing it, that's something you have to look at, not something that not something I have to examine in myself. Like
Yes.
not something I have to examine in you. It's something I have to examine in myself, like my feelings towards what you expressed and
Yeah.
my desire to have to say something about that.
Yeah, and I really appreciate it because, we were talking about Talipay the other day, and I was saying that I like his 6 principles really resonate with me,
Yeah.
and the fact that you can say, well, that's her experience, and that, but we bound on other experiences. That's it, because if we weren't constantly trying to change people and actually look at ourselves and say, wow, yeah, this is horrible. Yeah,
Yeah.
but am I going to engage in it? You
Right.
know? Yeah. And if you don't mind, I'll just read the other two I posted up because it
Please.
really resonated with me. Then I'll give somebody else a chance. But it's like how others feel says a lot about who you are, because
Oh
if you
man.
yeah, because if you're away from the Tao or source or God or divine intelligence, whatever this infinite love is, and love is not divisible,
Right.
then if you're feeling something away from this indivisible aspect, then it's not the other person, it's you.
Right. And it's always you.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
always you. And that is
yeah.
something that I talk about all the time in my so the work that I do is like I don't know if I ever mentioned this, but is entitled Recover Yourself. And
Hmm.
it is about recovering all of that, right? Like everything you witness, everything you see, everything you judge, that's you.
Exactly.
Like if you
Exactly.
judge and are afraid of homeless people, that has nothing to do with the homeless. It
Yes.
has everything to do with you.
Yes.
And if you could see that, just like this chapter 67, which Natasha gave us, says, compassionate towards yourself, you reconcile all beings in the world. Meaning that when you can be compassionate towards that homeless person by being compassionate to yourself, you can
Exactly.
bring that homeless person back into harmony.
Exactly, because the homeless person still has the divine love. So
Yes.
you wouldn't look at the aspect of homelessness. You'd look at the connection, and by helping to reconnect the connectedness, you reconnect with yourself. And the question is that this is what I think free will is, my perception of free will. It's this constant decision. Are we going to connect with our 5 senses? Or are we going to connect with the divine in us? And that is the constant battle we're fighting, because our senses are quick, give us a very quick decision. But connecting with our higher self involves, as you were saying earlier, a lot more taking the calmness and stopping the non judgment. And that is very difficult because we have to disconnect with the senses.
And the senses give us instant gratification.
Yes,
When
exactly.
we reach out and touch somebody, we feel that.
Yeah,
Like immediately. But if we have to just like close our eyes and do a meditation to connect with someone, we can feel that
Yes.
just as plainly. I mean, I have on this app and even on the phone with people, I said, okay, I'm going to take a pause and I'm going to give you a hug. And then I take a pause and I just sit and through that, like the person I'm talking to is like, oh wait, I'm feeling this warmth. And I'm like, yes, that's my hug, right? Like we don't need this instant, like we can take a moment and be present with the whole.
Exactly, exactly. And when we connect with our senses, remember the senses are connected to our experiences.
Right.
So when we connect with our senses, we're interpreting the world through our experiences. It may not be
Oh,
what,
that's beautiful.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know how these words are coming, but hey,
No.
I'm
I see
good.
that as like when you touch somebody, your perception of that touch is being built off of having touched before.
Yes,
And
yes,
so you're actually not touching this person right now. You're perceiving having touched. And so when you can, move into this more, like maybe lack of a better word, tantric or tantric sort of experience of like,
hmm,
let me feel and be witness to what is actually happening right now, not just react to the perception that touch is being exchanged.
excellent, excellent. You put it even a stage deeper. Excellent. Now, I'd
So
just like to end with the last one, and all these are on my Instagram, so to give someone else a
And
chance.
what's your Instagram?
If you go to what do you
I
call
know
it?
it's going to be on your
Yeah, yeah,
platform,
yeah.
but
If you just go and tap it, because I have to work on this. I find it hard self-publicizing. I'm going to work
yes,
on it.
yeah,
I'm going
yeah.
to work on it.
That's about you.
Yeah, that's about me. But every time someone says, "So how can I get in touch with you?" These barriers just go up.
Yes,
But
it's
if you
it's
go
it's
to my,
that's a beautiful thing to recognize, and then
mhm,
just bring awareness to it. You don't
mhm,
have to do anything about it. It's beautiful.
mhm. And I'm looking at it. It's Bella Me Tambien all together.
Bellamy también.
Yes, all together.
Beautiful.
And the last one to end with is never let your past experiences harm your future. Your past cannot be altered, and your future doesn't deserve the punishment.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you.
Yes. And, it's always a pleasure listening
Always,
to you,
always.
and I thank you for allowing us to have a dialogue that's allowed me to reflect and go away with something special. Have a great day, Martin
You
John.
too, Bella.
Hmm.
Oh man, it's always great to have Bella on. I am so grateful. I'm always so grateful when people join. Bella is so wise and beautiful in her words. I'm so grateful for her contributing, especially to this 67. Which Natasha, who's heading out into the rain, have a good day, Natasha. um, and who was able to listen to all of that. Whether or not she followed, we'll talk about that later. but um, but if anybody wants to come on and pick a number between 1 and 81, I am here. Natasha picked 67. Bella came on and kind of chimed in for some of that, and I am looking at the numbers in front of me and would love for somebody to come on. I can definitely pick one and we can go through it together once again. But only if nobody wants to come on and pick a number between 1 and 81. This is the Tao of the day. We read through and go through line by line a Tao together. So that if you have a Tao, I'm going to take 55. Look, I just decided I'm going to do that. He who is in harmony with the Tao is like a newborn child. Its bones are soft, its muscles are weak, but its grip is powerful. It doesn't know about the union of male and female, yet its penis can stand erect. So intense is its vital power. It can scream its head off all day, yet it never becomes hoarse. so complete it is in harmony. The Master's power is like this. He lets all things come and go effortlessly without desire. He never expects results. Thus, he is never disappointed. He is never disappointed. Thus, his spirit never grows old. Here's something, just like at the end there. How often are you disappointed? He, the Master, is never disappointed. Thus, his spirit never grows old. Every time you get disappointed, like maybe this is a point of just like, hey, every time you get disappointed, your spirit grows a little older. And if your spirit grows older, then you're growing older. So many people want to be youthful for their entire lives. And if you want that, you need to not be disappointed. How do you not be disappointed? Well, let's go through this. Let's go through this chapter 55 and see how we cannot be disappointed. He who is in harmony with the Tao is like a newborn child. Okay, so far, so good. Nothing really to talk about there. If you are like a newborn child, you will be like the Tao. Its bones are soft, its muscles are weak, but its grip is powerful. Not sure how to take that. Bones are soft, muscles are weak, but its grip is powerful. It's interesting. I've seen a lot of videos of like children gripping. They grip and they can dangle by their hands, and yet their muscles are weak. But it is not about having strong muscles, right? It's about having a strong grip. And that's a different thing. Like it's your grip maybe doesn't have anything to do with your muscles. It has to do with your tendons and your ability to hold on and to understand. The bones are soft and muscles are weak, but its grip is powerful. Now this, I've read this to people and they've kind of been weird about this idea, but it doesn't know the union of male and female, yet its penis stands erect. Can stand erect. So intense is its vital power. So understanding what you will become as an adult. I've been telling a lot of people, my diet is one that I eat a lot of organ meats. I eat a lot of fermented foods. I don't eat meat. I don't eat anything really that comes in a package anymore. As a child, I looked forward to this idea that like, oh, when I'm an adult, I won't eat things from packages. Oh, when I'm an adult, I will eat organ meats. But nobody in my family, nobody in my life did that as an adult. I just knew that that's what it was going to be. My diet is that now because I got diagnosed with MS. Did I know that I was going to do that? Like having this connection to your power, having connection to your future, having connection. I've been talking a lot with people recently about this idea that we knew who we were going to be as adults. And we were actually laying the groundwork for that our whole lives. So it's all such a, your vital power, like this idea of a child's penis being hard, I've changed diapers before and that's a real thing, but why? It's your connection to yourself and to your body. And that's something that we can, we can understand, we do have insight into the future. We do have insight into our lives, past lives, future lives. Like all of that is happening within us. It can scream its head off all day and yet never become hoarse. So complete it is in its harmony. So this is beautiful, right? It can scream its head off all day, yet it never becomes hoarse. So complete it is its harmony. Imagine being in harmony where you can run all day, we can do something all day, and you can not be swayed by it, not be hurt by it, not be harmed by it. You just grow into it. And as you grow into it, you can do it forever. But once you start the process of, oh, it's cold, or oh, it hurts, or oh, it's bad, that's when it starts to go. Like if you're going to sit down and do push-ups and you have an idea of how many you're going to do, about 3 or 4 before you're done are going to get hard. Right? You say, I'm going to do 25. Well, right around 22, you're going to be like, oh, that one was hard. But if you go down to do your push-ups, and I've noticed this, and I have no number in mind, I get well past 40. But as soon as I go down and I say I'm going to do 25, it gets hard at 23. And that's the mind, that's the mind. And if the child would scream its head off all day long and thought, oh my God, my throat is going to get hoarse. If it thought that, if it was not in harmony with screaming, if it was not in harmony with what it did, then it would get hoarse and his throat would hurt. And this is all about you, right? This is all about how you see the world and how you perceive the world around you. The master's power is like this. He lets all things come and go effortlessly without desire. So when the master goes down to do push-ups, he just waits until he just does it and just continues to do it until he is actually done. What a wonderful way of going about life. To be able to approach something and say, I'm going to take this to its logical end without having to process it, without having to have an expectation, without having to have a concept of where it's going to go. So the master's power is like this. He lets all things come and go effortlessly without desire. He never expects results. Thus, he is never disappointed. So if you go down and say, oh, I did 25 push-ups yesterday, let's try and do 30 today, and they get hard at 38. But then the next day, they get hard at 18. Well, without expecting results, you can't be disappointed. You don't expect results, and then you can't be disappointed by what is. And you just allow it to be what it is. And because he's never disappointed, his spirit never grows old. One thing I like about the Stephen Mitchell version is he interchanges he and she for the master. Here we are using he. But in just as many verses, he uses she, if not more. So when it says he, I always want to point that out. And I usually don't mention when it says she, just because it's obvious, right? When we say master and she, that rings true to me much more than master and he. And I know this is because of my own bias, because I don't want to come off as being like, oh, this says master and he, and like, isn't that the way? It's not. And I want to read this accurately as Stephen Mitchell intended. So I point out when it says he, because sometimes when we talk about master and he, we can lose focus of what we're talking about here. So he is never disappointed. Thus, his spirit never grows old. And the work that I do, the Recover Yourself work I do, like when I work with somebody, they lose years off of their life. I'm telling you, like people have gotten younger because they have been able to accept things as they are. It is not about taking collagen. It is not about taking supplements. It's not about, like, maybe it's about diet, but your diet is going to change for you as you grow into yourself. If raw diet is your game, well, then that'll be it. Will it be hard to maintain? No, because you will be approaching it from a place without desire. You'll be approaching it from a place of effortlessness. And that's why it won't be hard for you. And everything that you encroach on, everything that you approach in your life will engage and will move you towards the lifestyle that you are supposed to have. Right now, maybe you're living under the influence of marketing, advertising, friends, neighbors, parents, teachers, mentors on the Wisdom app. But when you live your life as you are, without fear, without, with your vital power intact and your harmony in line, that will allow you the space to never grow old. All right, well, if anybody wants to jump on and pick a number between 1 and 81, I would love to have you on. I'm going to give you guys just about a minute or so before I sign out. I'd love to have you on, just because, one, I love speaking about the Tao, and two, if you guys want to have your Tao read for the day, I would love to share it with you personally. just because these are magical. There is nothing short of magical about these, and they come in and they speak to us and they tell us about who we are right at this moment. So if you were to come and join me, I'm sure that the number that you pick will change the rest of your day. But alas, nobody's joining me. But that's okay. You can find me tomorrow, right around the same time, hopefully. We'll see. And I will be sharing the Tao of the Day with you one more time. I do this Monday through Friday, sometime in the morning Central Time. I sometimes try and shoot around 8 o'clock. Today I did that. Sometimes I get better feedback later in the day. So sometimes I like to move it later. But until then, until next time, I'm Martin John, the Recovery Mentor. I host the Recover Yourself podcast. You can find me in Chicago at Satnam Yoga. You can find me online at martinjohn.com. You can contribute to my efforts on Patreon at martinjohn_Garcia. Sorry, not Patreon, but Venmo. If you benefit from the work that I do, you can Venmo me a little cash. That'd be great. Always welcome at Venmo at martinjohn_Garcia. If you are interested in working one-on-one, you can find all that information at martinjohn.com. Once again, this is a Recover Yourself podcast, or this is a Recover Yourself production, and I'm your host, Martin John. Until next time, keep recovering yourself.